Hello world, my name is Gracie. I am the author of the Incarnation series, which is Etched in Stone and More is Deep. Feels really weird. I don't know how to do this. Anyways, I am going to actually kind of walk you through this book, Etched in Stone, without hopefully giving away too much information. That always kind of runs the risk of giving out spoilers, but whatever, that's what I'm here for. If you've made it to the channel, you've probably read it, and if you haven't read it, I appreciate that you are here. Go ahead and like and subscribe. I can't guarantee that I'm going to have a bunch of content, but I'm going to try. Build the suspense. Again, my main goal for being here on YouTube is to support other indie authors, the indie process, as well as read and give shout outs to anybody who wants to send me a book. I am A-okay with, and that is completely free to you. I'm not looking for anything monetarily wise. It's just support. That is what we are here for, is we are here to support and learn from each other and, enjoy life. So that's all. Today I'm going to be talking about my own book, Etched in Stone. I showed it on this side. I don't know which is better. I'm even covering it. I don't know. Anyways, Etched in Stone, I came up with the idea of Etched in Stone through a lady who actually read my palm. And she had some really neat things to say, and some of it, I don't know how truthful it is or how much I believe it, but I thought one of the cool things that she said was that my soul was from another universe. And I thought at the time, I was like, well, wouldn't this be a really cool story? And, I just kind of put it in the back of my head and mulled it over, and I was like, I wonder if I could make this into a thing. And so I just sat there and mulled, and I kept doing my thing and working and writing when I could. And all of a sudden, one day in the shower, probably about a year and a half later, it like popped into my head, and it was like, whoa. I had the characters, I had the lineup, I had the arc, I had everything. And I was like, I have to write this. And so I went to Hawaii, and I always bring a book and a tablet. And this was before iPhones and iPods and iPads and all of technology kind of really, really took off. So a tablet to me is like a thick thing of paper, like a spiral notebook or something you write on. So anyways, I brought a tablet, like old school tablet, and I sat by the beach, and it was like the really angry sea, and that's my favorite. I don't need like the sunshine and the breeze and the amazingness. I'm super fair skinned, so I burn, so I'm like, it's not really appealing to me. I'm like, ooh, sunburn, yes please. So I went to the beach, and it was a really foggy day, and the sea was super angry, and that's when I write my best. And I busted this story out within I want to say probably 2 weeks. I didn't stay on the beach for 2 weeks. I was moving around, but I had the good push to actually write it. And it just kept flowing. So when I wrote it, it took probably another, 2 or 3 months to edit it. And I passed it out to family and passed it out to friends to see what they thought and help me edit it, because, I was not a great editor. Probably still am not a great editor, but I think I'm okay. Anyways, I passed it out, got them back, and I changed some of the things that they wanted me to edit within it. And then before I knew it, I was just kind of sitting and staring at it, and I'm like, I don't feel as connected to the story as I did that one day on the beach. And so I changed the names because I didn't really like the names. And then I changed the setting because I didn't really like the setting. And then I changed the arc, and before I knew it, I had a completely different story. And when I wrote the second version, I gave it to a really good friend of mine, and she wrote through it, and she picked out some like really finer details, and she was like, well, if you strengthen it here or put in more detail here, it'll really flesh it out. And they call it fleshing out because it's like giving more life to your story and making it a well-rounded character, a well-rounded scene, or real well-rounded setting, so it fleshes it out. So anyway, so she gave me some tips and tricks to help me do that. And I had never written anything sci-fi or interdimensional travel or anything like that. So it was a completely new concept to me. And so I did that, and I thought I had a really, really good story. And it was, shoot, at the time, I think it was 75,000 words. And, you know, everything I had read for literary agents, they were saying that, you know, it can't be over 60 because it's a big chance for a publisher to take spending that much money making thousands of copies in order to disperse across the world or the country. And I was like, well, I can't really take things out. Like I felt like since I had already been through the editing process like 3 or 4 times, I was like, it's good. It's where it needs to be. And so I sent it anyways. I sent it to 189, I believe, 189 different literary agents and publishers all across the country, and got every single one of them had a rejection letter to it. And so I put it in my closet and I stuck it on a shelf, and I was like, okay, it'll just stay there. It needs to breathe a bit. But this was at a time in history or in our culture where we didn't have a lot of sci-fi stuff. I mean, you had Star Wars, but that's like a genre all of its own. And I'm not that sci-fi, and I'm not Lord of the Rings sci-fi. I'm like interdimensional travel, like, I don't know. It's not quite. It's just weird on its own because it's not the. It's not a time travel. I don't know what you would call it. So, anyways, I had gotten to the point where I was like, it's not the right time for my genre, which isn't a genre. I don't know how to genre this genre, and I put it aside and said it's not the time, it's not trendy, it's just a story that needs to be read. So I put it away, and once every like 4 years, 3 or 4 years, I pulled it out and read the first chapter and started editing it, and I was like, it's still good, and I'd put it back. I didn't do anything with it because I didn't have that belief in myself that it was good enough. And so I put it back and just let it sit. And it would maul and maul and maul. And as this happened, like, I was already creating the second story in my head. And I'm like, if the first story isn't going anywhere, why write the second one? And I had pulled it out, I think it was right in 2019, right before the pandemic. And I had watched a video by one of my inspirational people, and they had created this analogy of comparing ourselves to a tree. And they said, an apple tree produces fruit, and it's sweet, and it's amazing, and it's nourishing, and compared it to us as people. And he said, the fruit doesn't go back to the tree. The tree doesn't need it for sustenance. It doesn't need it for nourishment. It just creates it for the enjoyment of others. And he said, if you have a gift, you need to share your gift and inspire and be the nourishment for others. And so I don't know why this one actually made me go, bing, hello. And I pulled it out and started re-editing it for real for the final time. And I gave it to 3 other people that were family and friends, and produce this copy of this book in the written form, in like the page form, manuscript form. And within like a week, I had heard about the indie process. And so instead of sending it out to literary agents or publishers, I went the indie route and started publishing it myself. And it was kind of interesting because, you know, the first one that you ever put out, the first novel or any kind of creation that you put out, I don't care if it's paintings or what are the little beanbag toss games, whatever they're called. You put a piece of your soul in it, whether you like it or not. And so it was really interesting to me to be able to do that because everything kind of fell in line. So I pulled it out of the closet, I edited it, gave it to friends, they edited it, re-edited it for the final time, put it into the format, found a book jacket designer, and she made this beautiful, absolutely amazing like cover. I could not have done it better myself. Like, oh, my heart. And it just fell into place. And so when I published it, it was this like big, massive like hurdle that I had kind of overcome. So it's not necessarily about the story. I love the story, don't get me wrong, I love the story. But it was more of a emotional journey and a trial and tribulation to what I am capable of versus what I can do, what I'm supposed to do, and all the questions. So that's when I tell people, especially authors who are looking to publish at all, one, make sure you have belief in yourself. I have this posted on my book of no's, and it says, one belief in yourself is stronger than 1,000,000 no's from others. I don't know who wrote it. I wish I did, because then I could give a shout out and not plagiarize. But that has been one of the things that has kept me going with my own inner conflict. Because it's not easy. You have millions of people that can write. Anybody and their dog who wants to. They're even having, you know, advertisements. Say you hire a ghostwriter to write it for you so that you can get the money for it. And you know, to each his own. But it definitely makes it hard to stand out when you have people that are just trying to make a quick buck as opposed to make art. And that is where my story came in. So I was like, is it worth it? Is it a story people want to hear? And I go back to that analogy that I had heard about, and I was like, regardless of if it is or it isn't, people need to hear about it. Even if it's just one person that wants to read the book, I did it. So that is my intro story of how I wrote Etched in Stone. And I want to encourage you guys to, whatever your craft is, whether it's writing, whether it's being a journalist, whether it's, you know, being a vlogger, or what is that game called? Beanbag toss game maker. I don't care what it is. If you have a craft, if you have an inspiration, if you have something that feeds your soul, do it. All right. Have a good day. If you have questions that I can answer, put them down in the comments. And I appreciate you being here and finding me. Have a good day.